As we started 2020, we were more than optimistic about what the future was going to look like. Our shows were sold out, our donations were looking good, we had educational programs that we were starting that we were excited about, and we couldn't have been off to a better start with the year 2020. Our financial picture at Kirkland Performance Center was the strongest it had ever been in the history of the theater. One of our top priorities was to look at what our role in the community was supposed to be as arts leaders in elevating other voices and other cultural expressions, and what environment we were supposed to create to let everybody have a voice and be heard in an artistic expression. March 2020 happened to all of us, and like everybody else, it was a cold slap in the face of what a new reality was going to be.
So after the pandemic hit, KPC quickly identified that things were serious. We were one of the first, if not the first theater that actually did make the decision for public safety to close down the theater. It was a very difficult decision to make, especially ahead of other organizations making the same decision.
At KPC, we had to take a step back as leaders and ask, what are we supposed to be to our community right now? Kirkland Performance Center exists to be a gathering space to come together and be a community connected by culture. Well, how do you connect people through culture when you can't gather in your very space that you normally connect people through culture in? So we had to get really creative really fast about what that meant.
KPC board was very active during the pandemic, and especially as we identified that we were going to be shutting down the theater. So we would meet every single Friday at 1 o'clock, and we did that every week during the pandemic, and it was a matter of looking at the financials, how do we manage cost, knowing that we don't have revenue coming into the theater, how do we stay in communication with our donors who really care about the theater and wanted to see KPC survive.
Our mission is to be this gathering space, but just because we cannot gather does not mean that our mission is ever postponed. The arts are about healing, building community, expressing ourselves, and getting through tough times. And that's why we knew we had to find a way to keep fulfilling our mission. When I was out for a walk with my dog, and I was thinking about how we were going to solve this problem, and it dawned on me that we could use KPC as a stage, turning it into a studio, and actually stream bands and artists and musicians into people's homes. So that's how KPC at Home was born, and I'm really excited that we had over 40 bands streamed to over 75,000 people, and we have no intention of slowing that down.
So when KPC decided to do streaming shows, we basically had to start from scratch. There wasn't really any streaming or camera gear that we owned here in the theater. What we did have was this beautiful stage and lighting and just this venue. It was a bit of a leap of faith. It was a risk that we decided it was worth taking because we wanted to connect to our community, and this was the only way, or maybe the best way, that we saw to do that.
We did it as a service and without charging anyone. It didn't cost anybody anything, and it really was about keeping the spirits of our community high as possible during such a difficult time.
After we started KPC at Home, we are encouraged that the city of Kirkland reached out to us, and they want to invest in these programs to help us keep this going as well, and other funders jumped in alongside them.
We were able to, through donations and sponsorships of shows, through very generous community, we were able to bring in these artists and give them a platform in somewhere that wasn't their bedroom to perform and be on a stage with lighting, with a solid PA, with a good technical crew behind them, and give them a video, a product at the end of the day that they could use to help market themselves and have, for the rest of their career.
We hosted and streamed some amazing artists last year, including Heart by Heart, Delvon Lamar Organ Trio, Stephanie Ann Johnson, Seattle Repertory Jazz Orchestra, Zan Fiskum, Nightwave, Vaudeville Etiquette, Ryan Burns, Jesse Butterworth, who we streamed live from the world-famous Bear Creek Studios in Woodinville, Lee Oscar, Shayna Shepard, and so many more.
It was really cool to kind of get some of the team back as well, because a lot of the team, were laid off at the beginning of the pandemic, and we were able to bring back, especially some of our technicians to work on these streaming shows. And I think we were able to do something that actually turned out to be really beautiful and really valuable for the community.